Baroness Fox of Buckley.
My Lords, let me congratulate all those who have got us to this situation in which infections, hospitalisations, ICU admissions and deaths have tumbled. And with so many millions of the vulnerable and ever younger cohorts being vaccinated. It's an amazing achievement, but what does it mean? It effectively renders the virus endemic. It will join the range of respiratory viruses that circulate each winter and not disrupt our lives. How brilliant. We should be celebrating today that the emergency is over. The data proves it. But the government, bizarrely, won't admit it. I took the Prime Minister at his word when he claimed he'd follow the data, not the dates. But as the data has improved, rather than a review of the roadmap, those dates seem fixed in aspect. Some will say with only weeks or months before restrictions are lifted, it's churlish to complain about this element. But can I remind my noble lords that outside of here, each hour, each day, each week means more livelihoods destroyed, more industries being trashed, more self-employed made unemployed. It means the horrors of social isolation taking their toll on the young and old. And it means the sheer humiliation for millions of citizens of being deprived of control over their own lives, condescended to with a slow drip of their own freedoms dispensed from on high, for which they're expected to be grateful. Also, can I ask, if the data shows we have moved beyond an emergency, what possible moral or political justification can there be for prolonging draconian powers for a minute more than necessary? The noble minister assured us, and it is assuring, that the coronavirus legislation before us has retired unnecessary provisions. Good. But what's a bit worrying is that it contains some of the most extreme detention and disposal powers in British legal history, even as we speak. Yet this government still thinks they are necessary, does the minister, such as the egregious sections 21 and 22. I think what's shocking and even disappointing is the way that all politicians, or I'd expect all politicians in a free society to be full of revulsion at the state's acquisition of huge swathes of punitive powers. Even if you have believed over the last year that they were necessary, wouldn't you want to dump them as soon as possible? So I do find it cringeworthy to hear the contortions that some are prepared to go to excuse the extension of illiberalism well past its sell-by date. The problem is that instead of being reviled, too many do seem content to normalise those laws as an appropriate long-term strategy to manage any ongoing public health challenges, even when there's no emergency. And we've heard some brilliant speeches illustrating the dangers of that. When Dr Mary Ramsey from Public Health England said on BBC at the weekend that we can expect restrictions on travel and laws forcing people to wear masks and social distancing to last for years, where was Matt Hancock with his cry freedom? Do you know how demoralising it is that the government allow this dystopian future to get peddled out without contradiction? Do you realise that it leads people to ask, well, what's the point of the vaccine then? When there's this kind of knee-jerk statements and then careless talks of jabs for jobs or COVID certificates for pubs and pints, which are so divisive and potentially discriminatory, all that adds up to is fuelling fear and uncertainty about the future, as though freedom will never be restored. And what we need to do at the moment is encourage people to be brave and resilient so that we can energetically reopen society and reactivate the economy. Surely anything that undermines the government's own claim that the rapid rollout of the vaccine isn't working, because the government told us it was the key to liberty and normal life, if we roll it out successfully and you won't give liberty or normal life back, won't that lead to actually fueling anti-vax feeling? And I worry that this refusal to repeal corona's legislation, to cling on to the rules, dampens a mood of confidence and inadvertently fuels cynicism because freedom is so elusive, so many people say, what's the point in being vaccinated? Finally, many of my noble lords have rightly complained about the paucity of debate and scrutiny of laws in the other place and in this place. But it's worse than that. Effectively, government suspended the public square, decommissioned the public and closed down debate. Shut down at home, the public were told to shut up and follow instructions. What a tragedy for democracy that rather than galvanising the public and treating them as equal adults who could be trusted to take far more personal risk-based decisions, politicians on all sides agreed to use the law to change behaviour. Rather than encouraging a society-wide debate about how to balance risks and harms or deploy creative bottom-up solutions to everything from the crisis in care homes to what's happening in schools, anyone asking questions not state-approved or rubber-stamped by SAGE were treated as a dodgy denier. Sorry, my lords.